I remember that night clearly, one of those nights when I thought I'd drift off into a peaceful sleep. But no, my eyes were wide open and my mind was spinning like a gym running full throttle at midnight. Anxious thoughts raced through my head, my heart was pounding, my breath shallow, and I felt trapped, like I was lost in a maze with no way out. If you're lying awake through nights like that, take a deep breath and listen. You're not alone. Sleep anxiety is something many of us face. And yes, you can overcome it, step by step. Don't beat yourself up for not being able to fall asleep instantly. Sleep is like a friend you need to take time to get to know. I've had those nights too when my brain felt like it was in a mental CrossFit session, pushing through nonstop mental workouts until morning. I even tried counting sheep, but instead of sheep, it was a chaotic pack of anxious foxes leaping through my mind, only making things worse. I know it sounds frustrating, but hear this, it's not your fault. And the most important part, you're aware of it and you're looking for ways to heal. That's the very first step toward becoming friends with sleep again. Be gentle with yourself. Every sleepless night is a chance to learn how to take better care of your own mind. And I want to share my journey with you. A journey that was tough, yes, but also filled with growth, insight, and even joy. Me in the battle with my phone that won't leave my hand. The first sleepless night was tough, but if you think that was the hardest challenge, get ready, because the fight with my phone before bed was even tougher. I have to admit something. I'm a phone addict at night. My phone was like a best friend I just couldn't part from. Every night lying in bed, I couldn't stop scrolling social media, watching videos, or replying to messages. Every time I glanced at the clock, I thought, just a few more minutes, then I'll sleep. But those few minutes stretched into hours. The blue light from the screen was like a spotlight shining straight into my eyes, telling my brain to stay awake instead of resting. One time I tried to turn off my phone earlier than usual, but it felt like the device was glued to my hand, like an annoying cat that just wouldn't let go. I joked that if it could talk, my phone would yell, "You can't live without me." Honestly, that's exactly how I felt. Breaking this habit wasn't easy, but I was determined to change because sleep was way more important. I started putting my phone farther from my bed, trying to read a paper book before sleeping or listening to soft music. At first, I felt a bit empty and restless, like I lost a close friend. But gradually, I realized these small changes helped calm my mind, and falling asleep became easier. I understand that for many people, phones are an essential part of life. But if we want good sleep, we have to learn to put it down when it's time. This was the first step where I truly felt a difference on my journey to reducing sleep anxiety, getting to no sleep anxiety. The sneaky sleep thief that messed with my nights. After a bunch of rough, sleepless nights, I finally thought, okay, this can't go on. My brain was all tense, my energy totally drained, and my health was taking a hit. So I decided to dive into learning about something called sleep anxiety. Turns out sleep anxiety isn't just about struggling to fall asleep. It's like your brain puts on superhero alert mode right before and during bedtime. Your heart races and your thoughts just won't stop swirling around like a wild river. What really surprised me? It's not just for people super stressed out. Nope, it can sneak up on anyone, even if you seem totally normal otherwise. Knowing that made me feel way less alone and less like I was the only one battling this invisible foe. I started reading tons of articles, binge-watching videos, and chatting with doctors to figure out what's really going on. One key thing I learned, sleep anxiety is like a pesky loop. Anxiety makes it hard to sleep, and not sleeping just cranks the anxiety up even more. If you don't break that cycle, it just wears you down. One expert said something that stuck with me. You can't control every single thought in your head, but you can learn to be friends with them and not let them boss around your sleep. That really gave me the boost I needed to keep going on my journey to better, peaceful sleep. First step, breathing and meditation. Making friends with your breath. Once I realized I couldn't let anxiety take over forever, I started searching for ways to reduce stress and relax my mind. One of the very first and simplest things I tried was deep breathing and gentle meditation. The first time I heard about the 4-7-8 breathing technique was from an online video. It sounds easy enough. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, then slowly breathe out for 8. But at the beginning, I have to admit, keeping track of the timing and holding my breath felt a bit confusing, even a little uncomfortable. I kept fumbling and wondering, wait, do I really need a technique just to breathe? Still, I stuck with it every night, even though my mind was often still buzzing with all sorts of thoughts. When meditating, my brain felt like it was running a marathon, racing through everything from today to tomorrow. But I reminded myself meditation isn't about making your mind totally blank. It's about accepting those thoughts and gently letting them go. Slowly, I started noticing small changes. My breathing became calmer, my heart rate slowed, and a peaceful feeling crept into my mind. In those moments, it felt like I was hugging myself, comforting and reassuring my own heart. I also learned that proper breathing doesn't just reduce anxiety. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, helping your body relax deeply and making it easier to fall asleep. Honestly, this was a small but very important turning point on my journey to making peace with sleep. Since then, I've committed to practicing breathing and meditation regularly, treating them like my trusty nighttime companions. Anxiety journaling. Sending off your mood packages. After trying breathing and meditation, I realized there was one more thing I needed to do to clear out the swirling thoughts in my head each night. Anxiety journaling. It sounds simple, but for me it was a major breakthrough. At first I thought journaling was just for people who loved writing or recording daily emotions and events. But in reality, anxiety journaling is a way to send off those worries and thoughts out of your mind, making it lighter and easier to fall asleep. I started keeping a small notebook right by my bed, and every night before sleep, I spent about 15 minutes writing down everything on my mind. From big things like work pressure and money worries to small stuff like what I ate today or unanswered messages from friends. Writing became a way to tell myself, I've put all these worries out of my head, now they can rest. Sometimes I even wrote funny little notes to make myself smile like, tonight a sneaky anxious fox tried to steal my sleep, but I won. Some nights I filled up pages and grabbed another sheet. It felt like I was sending a package to an invisible box somewhere where all my anxiety could be stored instead of crowding my mind. The best part? After writing, I usually felt much lighter and clearer. The tangled thoughts quieted down, helping me drift off to sleep more easily. I definitely recommend giving this a try, even just for a few minutes each night. You might be surprised at the power of writing your thoughts out and how it helps you feel more in control of life's worries. Creating the perfect sleep environment. Turning your bedroom into a mini spa? After I started practicing habits to reduce mental anxiety like breathing exercises and journaling, I realized how important the sleep environment is for a good night's rest. So I decided to transform my bedroom into a mini spa, a truly relaxing and cozy place. Before, my bedroom was like a battlefield. Clothes scattered everywhere, harsh overhead lights, and noise from the street outside. How could I possibly sleep like that? I remember lying down only to have my sleep burst like a soap bubble from car horns and barking dogs. I began by thoroughly cleaning and organizing everything to create a neat, pleasant space. Then I swapped the overhead light for a soft yellow bedside lamp that's easy on the eyes at night. I also bought thick curtains to block outside light, creating a dark, peaceful atmosphere. Noise was another big issue. I tried using a white noise machine to mask the chaotic sounds around me. Surprisingly, just the gentle white noise made it much easier to fall asleep. On top of that, I picked a mild essential oil, like lavender, to keep in the room. The soothing scent made the space feel calm and helped relax my mind. Of course, it's not always possible to have a perfect space, but even small changes like these made a noticeable difference. Now, every time I walk into my bedroom, I feel my mood soften and I'm ready for a good night's sleep. If you're struggling with sleep, try changing your sleep environment too. Turn your bedroom into a place you love, a spot where you can truly rest and recharge. Gentle movement. Laughing yoga to reduce stress. When I started focusing on improving my sleep, one thing I realized was how important gentle movement before bed can be. But don't think it means hard workouts or hitting the gym. I chose the simplest way: light yoga with lots of laughter. At first, I thought yoga was only for meditation lovers or fitness teachers. Definitely not me. But one day, I came across a video about laughing yoga and decided to give it a try. My first attempt? Total disaster. I laughed at the wrong moments, felt awkward, and sometimes couldn't even laugh out loud because my mind was still full of worries. But gradually, I discovered the magic of laughing while moving gently. It not only helps the body relax, but also releases endorphins, the happiness hormone that quickly reduces stress. Every simple yoga move paired with laughter lifted my mood so much. I remember once during a gentle yoga session when it was time to take a deep breath and laugh out loud, I couldn't hold back. I laughed like a child, and all my worries just melted away. It really felt like a powerful mental medicine. After every laughing yoga session, my body felt lighter, my mind less chaotic, and falling asleep became much easier. This habit gradually became an essential part of my bedtime routine. If you haven't tried it yet, I recommend spending 10 to 15 minutes each night doing some gentle movement combined with free, hearty laughter. Don't worry about getting the technique right. The important thing is to have fun and relax. How your eating habits affect your sleep. Did you know that what you eat and drink before bed can have a huge impact on the quality of your sleep? I used to ignore this, thinking that just turning off the lights and lying down would be enough to fall asleep. But the truth is more complicated than that. At first, I kept my habit of drinking coffee late in the afternoon, and sometimes even indulged in sweets and snacks before bed. I had no idea that caffeine and sugar could make my heart race and my mind stay alert, disrupting my sleep. One time I drank a late coffee and tossed and turned all night. It felt like there was a disco party going on inside my head. After nights like that, I decided to change my eating habits. I started cutting back on coffee after the afternoon and avoided overly sweet or greasy foods in the evening. Instead, I tried drinking warm milk or herbal teas like chamomile and peppermint, drinks that help relax the body and mind. Changing these habits wasn't easy, especially since sweets and coffee had become my best friends over the years. I even joked with my friends that quitting coffee was like breaking up with a loved one. Painful and tough. But for better sleep, I stayed committed. I also learned that having a light dinner and avoiding eating too late or too much is important because it prevents your digestive system from working overtime when you're trying to rest. A balanced dinner with veggies and moderate protein makes falling asleep easier. After a while of adopting healthier eating habits, I noticed a clear difference: deeper sleep and feeling much more refreshed in the morning. If you're struggling with sleep, try taking a look at your daily eating habits. Sometimes just a small change can make a big difference. Positive self-talk. Having a conversation with yourself. When I started becoming more aware of the anxious thoughts swirling in my head before sleep, I realized it wasn't just about changing external habits. I needed to talk back to myself. Positive self-talk became an essential technique that helped calm the waves of anxiety in my mind. At first, talking to myself like that felt a little strange. I'd sit quietly, whispering things like, "I've tried my best and everything will be okay," or "Sleep is coming, just relax." Sometimes I joked that I was having a chat with an imaginary best friend. There was one time I thought I'd fail when a conversation inside my head was interrupted by a negative thought. How can I sleep with so many things unfinished? I gently replied, "I'll handle that tomorrow. For now, I need to rest to be sharper." Gradually, this technique helped me stop getting caught in endless loops of worry. I learned to recognize negative thoughts without letting them control my feelings or my sleep. Instead, I chose to respond with positive affirmations, a way to comfort and encourage myself. Positive self-talk also helped me keep an optimistic mindset, reduce stress, and better handle daily challenges. With regular practice, bedtime stopped feeling like a battle with anxiety and became a time for conversation and self-care. You can try this by writing down positive phrases or quietly saying them to yourself before bed. Imagine you're your own good friend, always ready to listen and comfort you every night. Dreamy nights. Between anxiety and calm. On my journey facing sleep anxiety, I went through some very special nights. Nights when my mind felt like it was walking a delicate line between anxiety and peace. It wasn't always easy, but those nights were memorable and full of lessons. I clearly remember one night when my mood was still quite unsettled. I tried to let go of negative thoughts using techniques I'd learned. Deep breathing, meditation, and positive self-talk. Though I couldn't fall asleep right away, I began to feel a dreamy, floating sensation, like drifting gently down a calm river. Sometimes echoes of old worries still surfaced, but they slowly faded and no longer controlled me like before. Sleep came quietly, without chaos or noise, carrying a sense of softness and calm. This feeling helped me realize that sleep doesn't always have to be perfect, and even light or interrupted sleep can bring some restoration to body and soul. That night, I learned that allowing myself to be dreamy, not always alert or anxious, is an important part of healing. Sleep isn't always total silence. Sometimes gentle mental movement helps us feel more at peace. Since then, I stopped pressuring myself to fall asleep immediately or sleep deeply every night. I learned to accept those dreamy moments, knowing they also bring value to my health and spirit. If you're going through nights like these too, remember, you're not alone. Be patient with yourself and welcome every feeling, whether anxious or calm, as companions on your path to better sleep. Recognizing signs and managing sleep anxiety. When it returns. After improving my sleep for a while, I realized sleep anxiety is like an uninvited guest who sometimes shows up unexpectedly. So, learning to recognize its signs when it comes back is super important to avoid getting caught in the anxiety spiral again. Some common warning signs I notice are a racing heart, feeling flushed in the face, sudden sensitivity to every little sound, and thoughts tangled like a mess of twisted wires. Sometimes I even feel mild shortness of breath, as if my body is signaling that it needs to relax immediately. When I spot these signs, I quickly use techniques I've learned. Deep 4 to 7 to 8 breathing, gentle meditation, or anxiety journaling to release negative thoughts. Sometimes I take a few minutes for light movement, like walking around the room or stretching to ease the tension. One important thing is not to panic or try to force the anxiety down. Instead, I've learned to accept it as part of the process, then gently steer my mind toward more positive and peaceful thoughts. Handled properly, the anxiety usually eases up and sleep returns to normal. However, if it gets severe or lasts too long, I'm not afraid to seek help from a mental health professional or doctor for proper guidance and support. From this experience, I understand sleep anxiety isn't an undefeatable enemy. It's a challenge that needs to be recognized and managed wisely so it doesn't disrupt your life or sleep. Learning to accept. It's okay if sleep isn't perfect. On my journey overcoming sleep anxiety, one of the most valuable lessons I learned was acceptance. At first, I put so much pressure on myself to sleep well, not to wake up in the middle of the night and to have deep, uninterrupted rest. But the truth is, sleep isn't always perfect. I remember one night after trying everything, I still woke up several times. Instead of worrying or getting frustrated, I started to change my mindset. I told myself, it's okay if sleep isn't perfect. As long as my body and mind get some rest, that's enough. This acceptance felt like loosening a tight noose around my neck. I no longer felt pressured or disappointed every time I couldn't sleep soundly. Instead, I gently learned to be kind to myself, understanding that sleep has its ups and downs. And that's normal. Acceptance helped reduce my stress and anxiety, which were the main reasons sleep was so hard to come by. When I stopped fighting so hard to force myself to sleep, I relaxed more easily, and sleep came more naturally. The important thing is to know that each night is a new chance to care for yourself, not a contest to be perfect. Sleep doesn't have to be flawless, it just needs to help you recover and feel better. If you're feeling pressured about sleep, try gently accepting it and allowing yourself to rest, even if it's not perfect. Trust me, being kind to yourself opens the door to more peaceful nights. Seeking support. When you need friends and professionals. On my journey overcoming sleep anxiety, I realized that I shouldn't struggle alone with sleep difficulties. There were times when I felt lonely and helpless as sleepless nights and anxiety piled up. It was in those moments that I understood the importance of seeking support from friends, family, or mental health professionals. The first time I opened up to a close friend about my insomnia and sleep anxiety, I felt an incredible relief. They didn't just listen, they shared their own experiences and helpful advice. Sometimes, simply having someone who understands can lift your spirits so much. But I didn't stop there. I also reached out to therapists and doctors for more structured guidance. Through these meetings, I learned many techniques to reduce anxiety and improve sleep, especially approaches tailored scientifically to my situation. This gave me peace of mind. I no longer felt lost in the battle against sleep anxiety. What I want to emphasize is there's nothing shameful or weak about needing help. Seeking support is the bravest and smartest step to care for your mental health and sleep. If you're feeling overwhelmed or lonely facing sleep anxiety, try sharing with loved ones or consult a professional. You don't have to go through it alone. There are many people ready to walk alongside you. A long but worthwhile journey. The final outcome. After many long nights struggling with sleep anxiety, I finally felt clear, positive changes in my sleep and mental well-being. The journey wasn't easy, but it was truly worth it. I remember the feeling the first time I slept for several hours straight without waking up. My mind calm and no longer attacked by worries. It was a small moment, but to me it was the biggest victory. Slow but steady steps like breathing exercises, meditation, journaling, creating an ideal sleep environment, gentle movement, and positive self-talk gradually helped me regain balance. I realized sleep isn't just about closing your eyes, it's a process of caring for both mind and body. This journey also helped me understand myself better, appreciate patience, and be gentle with myself. I no longer blame myself for sleepless nights, but instead feel grateful for the effort I've made to keep going. Though sleep anxiety still visits sometimes, I've learned to manage it well and not let it control my life anymore. I feel more confident, more positive energy, and my sleep gets deeper and better every day. If you're on this path, remember every small step matters, and success comes to those who don't give up. Good sleep is the well-deserved reward for tireless effort. As you settle into your bed, feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into softness. Let your muscles release their tension one by one, from your toes, your legs, your hips, up through your torso, your shoulders, your neck, all the way to the top of your head. Imagine each breath you take carrying away the worries, the racing thoughts, the tightness in your chest. There's nothing you need to do right now except rest. Your mind can wander, but gently guide it back to the sensation of breathing. Slow, steady, peaceful. Picture a quiet forest bathed in moonlight, where the only sounds are the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of an owl. Let this peaceful image cradle you as you drift further into calm. If your thoughts try to pull you back to worry, acknowledge them softly and let them float away, like clouds drifting across a twilight sky. There's nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to solve. You are safe. You are cared for. Sleep will come when it's ready, wrapping you in its gentle embrace. Tonight, allow yourself the gift of rest and wake tomorrow refreshed, renewed, and ready to face the day with calm strength. Good night, dear friend.